Greetings and welcome to the channel. I just picked up a watch online and it is a G-Shock that I have been meaning to pick up for the longest time, just never have. Glad to get my hands on this one. This is the GW-M5610, and what's so special about it is the module. This is module 3159, and what I just learned is recently this module has been updated and it has been replaced. So very happy to still find this one available with the original module so I can get a good look at it and add it to the collection. This was shipped from Amazon warehouse as an open box item in like new condition with just some damage to the package, but that's not going to stop us from getting our hands on this watch. Let's get started. Unboxing underway. Let's slide this watch out, and we've got our typical G-Shock retail stand with plastic on top, and let's pull it off, and there it is. Oh my goodness. I have waited much too long, but glad to finally see this GW-M5610. It's been out since around 2012, and I cannot believe I've waited this long to get one. Very happy to see it. Beautiful resin case and typical G-Shock watch band. Everything looks like it's in great condition. That unmistakable squared off polygonal geometry that's an homage or a direct DNA to the original GW-5000C, which was released in 1983. Got a beautiful mineral crystal. So excited to see this watch. What took me so long? Go ahead and finish the unboxing here. It's a proven module that's been in several different G-Shocks, starting with the GW-5000, I believe, back in 2009. This thing has been around for a while, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it, but there's some improvements that can be made. We'll talk about those. Finish up our paperwork here. Got our quick start guide for the tough solar feature and the atomic timekeeping. So always a generous amount of paperwork with our G-Shocks, which I appreciate. Finishing up our unboxing, we still have even more paperwork. Let's go ahead and speed through this part. And of course, we do have our international warranty card, 1-year warranty from Casio. So everything's in order. Unboxing complete. Very happy with the purchase from Amazon warehouse. Is this the perfect G-Shock? That is the question. Let's zoom in and take a look at some considerations as to what would make this even in that conversation. First thing is multiband 6. We have a self-adjusting watch. The second thing is it's tough solar. It's self-charging. Those are two huge pieces for me. And of course, this timeless G-Shock design that is so iconic. Another thing I wanted to point out, since we are in sort of a transition with this model, you see up here the EL backlight graphics. That shows you that this is the original module 3159. When you see that, that is electroluminescent backlight. The newer module 3495 just says light instead. It doesn't say EL back, so it'll just say light, and that features an LED. So arguably a better light system. That remains to be seen. All right, so we've talked about the EL backlight enough, but one core G-Shock essential for me is auto light. And if we hold down the light button for a few seconds, we will put this watch into auto EL mode, which means when we tilt our wrist towards our viewing angle in a dark enough setting, it's going to automatically kick on that EL backlight. Let's scroll through the different modes. We're in main timekeeping here. We scroll through to world time. We have our alarms menu. We have our stopwatch. We have our 24-hour countdown timer. And then we're back to our main timekeeping screen. Pretty simple stuff, but so cool. World time, we can scroll east and west. to find a city that we want to leave as our default world time city. I always like to leave it on London time. Advance to our alarm screen. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 alarms and a snooze, which is cool. And then we can turn our signal on and off on the hour. So it will ring out on the zeros. Scrolling through to the stopwatch screen, you get your start stop. It will do split times. One thing you do notice is in that dial at the top, we're not seeing our time keeping. And that's a shortcoming of this module, is you don't have our time in your stopwatch or in your countdown timer. So that's one of the criticisms of this 3159 module. I just wanted to point that out. Got your countdown timer, and again, you can see we're not getting our default main screen time on display there in that secondary dial. And then we're back to our main timekeeping mode. We've got our day, we've got our month, and we've got our date. Setting our main timekeeping mode window, we just hold down the adjust button for a few seconds, and that puts us into the adjustment mode, and we will scroll through to find the city closest that we want to assign as our default city. And you can scroll east and west to assign the city closest to your time zone. We can adjust daylight savings time, 12 and 24-hour mode. So if you want to do military timekeeping, you can toggle that. And then, of course, we can actually dial in the exact time and the date, etc. But this is a multiband 6, and it's automatically going to do that for us by default. Power save mode, I like to turn that on. It will put the watch to sleep after non-use and when it's sort of laying your watch down for the night. And that is it for your adjustments. What I'm not seeing is a light setting where we can adjust the light from 1.5 seconds to 3 seconds to keep that backlight on longer. That's something that's just not available in this module, which is another shortcoming, arguably. Take another quick peek at this beautiful watch on the stand here. And let's go ahead and get for the dismount. And the first thing you notice when you pull this watch off the stand is how nice and light it is. Definitely under 2 ounces. Let's look at the rest of this fit and finish on this one. Got our typical G-Shock watch band with stainless steel buckle. Pretty basic stuff. One thing I do notice there on our case back is there's a little bit of a blemish in the etching. See if we can focus on this. Let me hold this thing still so you can see it. There it is. And I'm not sure if that's a smudge or if that's some damage. We'll try to clean that up with some solvent a little later, but this watch is made in Thailand, as you can see. I don't know, would that bother you that the etching's got some, I don't know if it's damage or if that's just some smudges from the factory. But they're there, and I don't think that's going to stop me from keeping this watch, but let me know your thoughts. Would you be sending this back, knowing that you're probably not going to find this exact version ever again, in the near future at least? Casio Thailand stamped into the stainless buckle back there. Let me see if we can zoom on it. There it is. Nice to see some stainless steel there. And just our typical resin band and watch case that we've come to know and love in our G-Shocks. All right, let's grab some vitals here with our weight. We are at 1.73 ounces, so a super lightweight G-Shock. Let's go ahead and give our friends overseas and elsewhere some grams. And we are weighing in at 49 grams, so very lightweight, comfortable little watch. Throw in some calipers on there. Let's get a width. Outer edge, we are right at 43 millimeters. Let's get a case thickness here. At the narrow point, we're at 12.5 millimeters. If we go to the ridge here with the protection nub, we're just a little over 13.5 millimeters at the tallest thickness there. And just a little bit of a edge to edge outer case diameter there, just to give you some perspective on the length of the case. Just where the strap assembly starts, we're right at 47 millimeters to give you some perspective there. So yes, I am wearing my GW-6900, a watch I have reviewed and a watch I feel is one of the greatest G-Shocks ever made. You know that. If you haven't, please check out that review. Well, let's take this one off and compare it and see how these line up. Little side-by-side comparison here. You can see first off, you've got that rounded case versus that squared poly geometry of the 5610. Both arguably very gorgeous. Thicknesses are respectable, but the 6900 is a lot thicker, bulkier. It's arguable that the 5600 is more refined and sleek. And even though it's the older design, maybe it's more modern. What do you think? One thing I will point out is the buttons appear to be larger on the 6900 and a little bit easier to deploy. You can see a much larger finger pocket there on the 6900, but a lot thicker, bigger case. Which one do you like better? Let's do another quick side-by-side comparison here. We have the Casio ProTrek PRW-3510, a watch I have reviewed and a watch that I will always have in my collection. Just an amazing watch. You can see the screen size, the numbers on the time there are just much larger on the ProTrek, but the ProTrek's a lot of watch, and it is a big, bulky action adventure watch, but hopefully giving you a little bit of a comparison as far as size and presentation. Let's see if we can adjust the camera just a hair to keep some of the glare out. And what do you think? Definitely not apples and apples, but two cool looking watches though. And speaking of cool watches, you got to throw an Apple Watch in there too, don't you? Here's a Series 4. It does have a protective case on it, but just want to give you some size perspectives here. The Apple Watch is a 44 millimeter watch. A little bit different shape, but I have to admit, Apple Watches have their place. I don't know. What are your thoughts? Let's get a quick look at the EL backlight. And again, we only have 1.5 second light duration. But you can see as we zoom in that electroluminescent backlight lights up the whole screen. It's got sort of a greenish, bluish greenish hue to it. Pretty cool. And as we wrap up, let's get this on wrist and take a closer look as we zoom in on our G-Shock GW-M5610. It looks great. It's lightweight. It's comfortable. It's low enough profile that you can get a sleeve over it. And I can see this watch serving a lot of purposes, from business to casual. And if you have a smaller wrist, this is arguably a much better choice than my GW-6900, which is a lot more watch, a lot longer across the wrist, whereas this one sits nicely. And you can see there's plenty of room. I really like the way this watch looks and feels. Dare I say I love it. And could this very well be the perfect G-Shock? The debate continues. Well, I really appreciate you tuning in. Let me know your thoughts on this watch. And I'm definitely going to get the new version too, so maybe we'll do a comparison. But very happy that I got a hold of this one. It took me long enough, but glad it finally made it to my collection. I really appreciate you tuning in. Stay tuned for more content. Until then, I'll see you next time.